Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Jonathan, who is currently still in Cape Town. Jonathan, welcome. Good to have you.
Yes.
We last spoke, I
Thank
think
you.
the last webinar was 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago, and lots has happened already in different countries, in India, in South Africa, Mauritius, etc. And time is flying. You know, our first webinar was actually, I think, around end of May. So we sort of July, so 2 months. And today we're going to be talking about some interesting stuff about retail. So the return to the mall, yeah.
Yes.
Rebuilding confidence in our shopping centers, yeah. And here I think you will give us a bit of your views about things in India. That's where you used to be based before lockdown. And also, obviously, since you're currently locked down in South Africa, your perspective of the retail market in South Africa. So I think it's all about what is it we're going to return to, yeah? What is it? Is it the same old type of malls? Are we going to return in the same infrastructure but different logistics? Or are we going to return in the repurposed malls eventually? Or will we ever return? You know, that's also a question I have for you, you know, which I would love you to talk about for your presentation. Jonathan, I'll leave it to you. We'll go for your slides and then we'll come back to the Q&A session afterwards. All yours.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Kevin, and good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful day here in Cape Town, what we call a balmy winter's day, 22 degrees, no wind, no clouds, and I'm sure that there'll be a storm in the offing later in the week. I think that the title is a little bit deceptive. Rebuilding confidence in our shopping malls is more to the point that when we look at what's happened over the last 5 months since the coronavirus pandemic dug in and closed our respective retail and shopping center industries, we've been confronted with a huge amount of change in a very short period of time. It has reflected on the fragility of the nature of our industries, and yet it has given us an opportunity to reflect on our industry and, more importantly, to see where lie the opportunities. In the short time that I've got with you, I'm going to try and draw a comparison between the coronavirus pandemic responses both in South Africa and in India, and giving a little bit of insight in respect to the mitigation of risk. In other words, answering Kevin's question, where do we go from here? And what could we be doing in the future? And perhaps looking around corners, what does the future look like? So we'll start, our contents are very clear, a quick status, what's important in respect to building confidence, the response by the respective industries in both India and South Africa, and then the mitigation of risks. And then we've got some questions. So the first thing is, what has been status in South Africa and in India per governmental directives? Who is doing what? And what's very, very clear is that in India and in South Africa, there has been a very strong and a committed governmental view as to, first of all, the lockdown, and secondly, the opening up or the reopening. In India, they've called it reopening version 2 because there's already been a lockdown and a reopening and then a further reopening. And in South Africa, we have got the levels 5, 4, 3, which we're going through now, and then hopefully level 2 and level 1, which we will enjoy hopefully in the next month and thereafter. Nothing is going to remain the same. And I think that the governmental responses are indicative of this. So when we look at the directives that have been shared in India by the Retailers Association and the shopping center industry, it's been very, very clear about what can open and what can't open. Let me be very clear. In South Africa, we are living in a wonderful world where at least we can go out, we can do our exercise, and some businesses have been allowed to open, shopping centers have been allowed to open, for example. In India, certain industries have been closed down completely. In Bangalore, all the malls are closed until the 15th of August. In Chennai, all the malls have been closed, for instance, until the end of this month. It sounds draconian, but it certainly has resulted in a change to that curve and the infection rate. Only Karnataka in India presently shows an increasing rate of infection, for example. And it would appear that if you hit that link to lockdownboza.co.za, you'll see the South African response per directive, which industry, which sector is open. And I know that it's irritating, but it is having a positive effect in dropping that infection rate. And what is very, very clear is that there are reopenings across the board in South Africa. And in India, there is a pent-up demand for the reopening to begin. So if you can look at your slide, in India, one of the biggest things is that in order to get people to go back to the mall, we've had to show confidence in the mall's management of the coronavirus. So here is a little video. You can. So DLF is one of the largest real estate owners in India, and they own a fantastic portfolio of shopping centers. And their response has been little short of incredible with respect to how they have managed the pandemic and the confidence building for customers to return to their shopping centers. Understand that unlike in South Africa, the average shopping center in India receives at least 500,000 to 1 million customers a month. And what you've seen in the video is indicative of what is actually happening in Delhi in their shopping centers today. At the Mall of India, which is nearly 2 million customer basis, every citizen will be welcomed, they will be searched, and they will be sanitized. And their bags will be checked, and they will be given a personal welcome and a thank you for coming into the shopping center. Shopping centers will be consistently managed for restroom access and egress and sanitization. All the retailers will be welcoming their customers with a personal welcome and a sanitization. This is the perfect time to show confidence, that your customers will reflect on the confidence shown by the shopping centers and the retailers, and they will feel comfortable in the shopping center, not least of all from a safety point of view, but also from a coronavirus sanitization point of view. And millions of people are now returning to the shopping centers. When we look at South Africa, on the other hand, all I can show are various communications that have been issued by the South African Property Owners Association and by the South African Council of Shopping Centers. It's dull to my mind. And when I visit shopping centers, and granted I've been in lockdown here in the Western Cape since March, I have visited 11 shopping centers at various stages during the lockdown. I'm still to go to Canal Walk and Tiger Valley, for instance, but all the shopping centers from the Southern Peninsula all the way to the waterfront, even the CBD of Cape Town, have been struck. In my mind, I have been struck by the lack of contact and the lack of confidence I feel in entering those properties. I walk in, I tighten my mask, and I try and make my shopping experience as quick and as short as possible. I am in and I am out. There's no contact with the mall with me. There is no connection with me as a customer. And frankly speaking, as a protagonist of mall management coming from India, I'm actually quite startled. But I'm sure that the guys will fix that. And I'm sure that the malls in South Africa will warm up to the fact that they've got to build confidence in their product and for their retailers. And I'm sure the customers will respond accordingly. What is critical is communication. And what is absolutely imperative is to understand that the cost issue is now no longer an imperative. what we've noticed in India, where costs are always so important, is that in actual fact, if we only look at the cost of building confidence, and if we only look at the cost of putting in place all the sanitization and the signage issues, we may as well not even open our shopping centers. What is remarkable in India is the concerted effort by all property owners and retailers to tell their customers we are open for business, and most importantly, you are safe in our center and in our stores. I don't see that here, unfortunately, all's the pity. If malls did put an effort into building confidence with their customers, suddenly retailers have a chance of staying in business, and as a result, customers will come to shopping centers and they will spend more time in their shopping center, and they will, as a result, create the ability of retailers to stay in business. It's one of those wonderful, a virtuous circle of sustenance and business. Just don't see it here. But in India, I'm told that in actual fact, it's working very successfully. Well, why not have a mall rating system? We've done this in India. We're now assessing, according to this list and other points. I don't see any of this here in South Africa. But what is critical is that there is now fervent discussion in India, certainly among the Shopping Center Council, of actually establishing a hotel-styled rating system. This being one of the small components of that, the ability to evaluate shopping centers so that customers, when they are confronted with a mall experience, can say, I don't want to go to a mall that only offers, as is the case in one of the local malls that I have here. I walk in and there's a little sign on the wall, saying, sanitize your hands here. I would give that a 1-star rating. Whereas in India, if I go to any of the malls in Delhi and in Hyderabad, for example, there are bold signs saying, welcome guys, thank you for coming. And then you go through a security and a sanitization process. Don't know why it's not possible here, but I think that it's going to be something that the mall managers and owners are going to have to look at. My view is that it's imperative that people innovate and they use their center court and their social media to communicate more with customers and to build confidence and to have consistent messaging. And believe it or not, where unfortunately there have been retail vacancies, not to allow those shops to go dark, but in actual fact to reuse that space for something, either to create a coronavirus shop or to use it for merchandising or to use it for small business development. But I just don't understand why more of these points that we are applying right now in India are not applied here in South Africa. This is an idea that has taken storm. They are encouraging certain businesses, whether it be a pharmacy or a new tenant, to open and to actually sell coronavirus merchandise, from masks to sanitizers to all the little goodie gads that you can have. I know that this is a very serious matter. But from a retail point of view, our job from a shopping center and from a retail point of view is to entice our customers to come in and to spend their money and to spend their time safely within our shopping centers. I think that this is also an opportunity to look at the property fundamentals that have been ever so weakened by the coronavirus in the first 3-4 months, to review standard operating procedures and standard and operational standards, to zero-base the operating cost budget, to review its use, the mall's use and the retailer's use of data, rather than looking at how gadgets collect that data, to add in a point of sale system so that at least you are, as a mall owner, evaluating real-time sales and conversions in your shopping center. And more particularly, go contactless, embrace PropTech. So you have a contactless payment system, a contactless egress and access system, a contactless building information management system, a contactless bathroom, back of house and common area contactless system, and more importantly, just to keep communicating more. Kevin, I feel I'm at the end of my presentation, and I'm hoping that more owners and retailers will see their customers in a different light. And I remain available for questions.
Thank you, Jonathan. That was a cool presentation. You know, at least we're learning what India is doing and seems to be doing right in this sort of new normal in terms of welcoming customers back, making them, you know, because a lot of people are under stress, you know, having been under lockdown for quite a number of months. But, you know, so other people are facing, you know, possibility of losing the jobs or salary cuts, etc. And you need that kind of environment that you go there and you feel welcome. And clearly, as you've stated, you know, your visits of South African retail centers doesn't seem to be the case. And hopefully, you know, maybe there's something for you to do with the South African Association of Retailers and the property funds. But do you think maybe it's a cultural issue as well? I'm just thinking like, you know, India, bustling, spicy, you know, creativity, etc. And maybe that's what it is, you know.
Kevin, I think that's a very interesting that our property managers and our property owners have frankly forgotten what it is like to manage during a recession and during different and difficult times. I don't think that the people who are in office presently have had the exposure that perhaps you and I have had over the last 20, 30 years in managing complex market shopping centers during difficult times. And I think that the people who are there are probably doing their very best from their perspective. But actually, there are very few people to guide them in respect to what could be done and what should be done. It's very, very clear that the learnings I bring you here from India is orientated around emotion and around communication. It's imperative that things are told to customers and more. There's no time anymore for silo thinking. Now's the time for more owners to speak to their retailers every day and every minute of that day. I remember when I moved to India nearly 12, 13 years ago, my first employer there said to me that the Indian real estate market and the retail market there is a very emotional place. People enjoy being informed and being spoken to. You're not going to have time, I remember him saying, getting the comfort of sitting in your office. And he was right. And I look around the shopping centers that I've been buzzing around here in Cape Town over the last couple of months, and I've not seen many property owners or property managers or mall managers or mall marketing people at all. In actual fact, I've looked out for them and not seen them. I've popped into a few management offices to say hello, only to find that some of them are closed and some of them are abandoned. Maybe the people haven't come to work at the time that I'm there, but there is no apparent management on the ground, which I think is terribly important, that will build confidence with customers at these times. What I'm finding is that the center courts are empty. They are devoid of any form of life, and there's no reason for it. There's no reason why they can't be a coronavirus messaging center or anything relating to life after coronavirus or life during coronavirus. I don't see any effort being made by shopping centers to market to their consumers and their customers. I think that the social media if I look at any of the shopping centers, the social media pages, I find it quite dull. It's almost as if these people have thought, well, tomorrow will be fine. When coronavirus disappears, we can return to life as normal. Well, there's no normal. It's going to be, to coin a phrase, new normal. And new normal is going along the lines that we've enjoyed up until the beginning of March 2020. And I don't know if the marketing people and if the shopping center people really appreciate that. I don't think they're appreciating that in actual fact, they have to get out there and speak to their customers. Everything short of touching their customer, they've got to do. They've got to message their customers. They've got to communicate with their customers. And it's actually interesting. What are the fundamentals of retail from a shopping center point of view? Our job as shopping center owners is to make sure that retailers can do their job. Our job is to bring in the footfall. It's the retailer who then has to convert those customers. I don't think we're doing our job properly here. My view is that there can be so much more that can be done in respect, certainly in respect to communicating to customers that it's safe to come to malls. But when they're in the mall, give them something exciting to do. Where are the 2-for-1? Where are the food and beverage come special offers, buying a winter jacket? Where is the linkage between the customer, the conversion, the upsell, and the cross-sell? We seem to have forgotten all of those fundamentals. I'm wondering why. And it's got less to do with capability and experience. It's got everything to do with, I think, people understanding what their job is. In this time, our job as running shopping centers, as mall owners and mall managers, and possibly as retailers, is to get into the customer pocket as quickly as possible and to get them to spend, because in spending, you're re-energizing the economy and the ecosystem. And most importantly, you're building confidence in our respective industries. You know what is so funny, Kevin, is that in the mall, the DLF malls, and in the Phoenix Market City in India, and in the Blackstone malls, and in all portfolio of malls in India, consistent signage throughout each one of those portfolios. So picture the scene. I walk through all the 7, 8, 11 malls that I've been to. Every single mall, in every single mall, there are some mall signages, and then there are some retailer signages. Some are skew, some are misspelt, some are tatty little black and white pieces of paper. Some are stuck on with press stick, some are stuck on with sellotape. The image, to my mind, is tatty and no care and anything goes. You go to India right now and you walk through some of the grand malls of India. When you walk in, from the moment you arrive, you know that you're at a Phoenix Market City or at a Nexus Mall or at an In-Orbit or at a DLF. They care. They know that this is a managed environment. So from the moment you put your foot on their property, they are saying, this is our property, and thank you for coming. All the signages are consistent, whether it is a coronavirus sign in a tenant shop saying XYZ retailer name, number of people can come into the store. The signage is consistent. Welcome. Thank you for coming. In the store, little logo of the mall on the left-hand side, little logo of the tenant on the right-hand side, number of tenants that can come in, number of customers that can come in at any one time. There is a standard hand sanitization station in all the shops. If the food and beverage is allowed to operate, it's operating with a standard QR code and a cell phone mobile delivery and ordering system. It's amazing how in India the guys have got it organized. I'm wondering why in this country our people have not.
Thanks a lot, Jonathan. I've got one more question. We're just about time. You talked about a potential mall rating system. I mean, the rating system has existed in other real asset classes. For example, hospitality has been one. There's sort of formal rating globally, but also formal rating depending on the countries that you are, what type of hotels you've got. So this mall rating system, which is interesting, is that something that would be done? I mean, how do you see this evolve? I mean, there would need to be an independent entity that would need to do that, or standard that mall owners can eventually adapt, or adopt. Yeah. So how would you see this evolving?
I think that if you manage something, you have to be able to measure its success, and you must be able to manage and measure its response to the people who use those properties. And shopping center rating systems have been in their infancy for a while. I've worked with 2 portfolios in India where we have looked at 2 particular key issues. First, does rating to deal with. In India, I have an independent resource and advisory company that does the rating on a mystery shopping basis. And the second thing is that, and what is terribly important, is to set the parameters and the points of comparison. So there are 9 different distinct sections containing a range of services and points that are looked at for evaluation purposes. Those individual points are weighted from a score point of view, and the maximum amount of points derive the final number, and the number gives you a point, and it gives you a scale of measure whether the shopping center is a 5-star mall or a 1-star mall. And what we are now finding, having run this in 2 portfolios, is that one of the portfolios is very keen to ensure that their shopping center across India is 5-star. So they are looking at our evaluation, our list of evaluation points, and making sure that all their shopping centers have as many of those evaluation touch points so that their malls can be marketed as being 5-star. I personally think that a mall rating system is something that will work very, very well within Africa and in Southern Africa. And I also think that customers will enjoy knowing that their malls, the malls that they prefer to spend their time at, are 5-star or 4-star, simply because of the services and the experiences that are offered within them. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jonathan. That's a good comparison with India. Good sort of, brief about the mall rating system. Good to have you, and I'm hoping to probably have you back a couple of months from now, and hopefully South Africa would be out of the lockdown, or at least from stage 3 to stage 2, or even stage 1. Let's see. Let's cross fingers. And hopefully you can convince your South African peers to basically emulate what the mall owners are currently doing or have been doing in India, which is very, very interesting in terms of how they're sort of preparing themselves and how they've changed the operations, and also making people far more welcome, which is extremely needed these days. So great to have you, and keep well in Cape Town, and I hope to see you soon before the end of the year in Cape Town.
Likewise. Kevin, thank you very, very much to you and Snehan and Roots Advisory. Out of adversity comes much opportunity, and the opportunity is only strengthened with better communication between customers, mall customers and retail customers, and the retailers in the malls themselves. And I wish my colleagues in the industry the very best in order to enhance the retail, mall, and customer experience.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jonathan, and thanks to everybody who's watching, and keep well and keep safe. Thank you.
Yes, you too.
Bye-bye.
Be well, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.